Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16.
Or do you not know that he who is joined to a
Harlot is one body with her. For the two, he says, shall become one flesh. Okay. Need I say more? Okay. Alright. So, notice, there is no mention that the angels, well, we don't know. We don't ever ask the fathers, because no doubt they would have come presenting themselves as men. They would not come as angels. The women would run like thieves. And why is it that the Lord was upset with these women? Consent was given. They were not forced, it seems. Consent was given. And so the fathers would have given their daughters into marriage and did not check out the genealogical line of the men, or the angel men to life. But that was the custom, that was the norm. Who your father be? If you watch African movies and you see, yes, Kimari, okay? You would have noticed that when a man and a woman are in relationship, the first time the parents are meeting whether the man or the woman, they ask, who is your father? They may ask, who is the mother? But they ask the question, who is your father? They're going to check out who the father be. Right? So this is a necessary question to be asked. Many people are getting married without their father's consent. It is not right in the eyes of God. Though some of the fathers can be consent anyway because they weren't part of the rearing, and some of them never accept the child, so they cannot give consent. Right? All these things are against the will of the Lord. Right? So here is the situation. Since Yahweh or Jehovah did not breathe the breath of life into the bodies of these half-humans, half-demonic beings, then the image that they bore is that of Satan. And if you want to understand more about these half-human, half-demon beings, read Greek and Roman mythology. People read them and think, oh, a make-up story. There might be a story created. But what they are depicting is what took place in Genesis chapter 6. Right? This explains why these demonic spawns were so evil. They were lacking in any semblance of righteousness and moral rectitude. This was Satan's plan to eradicate Jehovah's divine destiny from man after Jehovah pronounced on him his verdict for deceiving the man and the woman in the garden. The pronouncement that the seed of the woman would bruise his head. Genesis chapter 3 verse 15. Satan knew that only a righteous seed could bruise his head. Hence, his intention was to corrupt the seed of the woman to prevent any form of righteousness which could destroy him. He wanted to prevent what Yeshua accomplished at his death, the redemption of man, and the destruction of death. However, since Jehovah is all-wise, his preservation of Noah and his family was a part of his divine plan from before the foundation of the world. The Bible does not explain how Jehovah prevented Noah from being demonically contaminated. That is, where did he find an untainted wife for him, as well as, untainted wife for him, as well as untainted wives for his 3 sons? It is most likely that during Noah's youth, there were a few untainted families in existence, even up to the time of his sons. When his sons were at marrying age, or they could very well have married their sisters. Here is something to note. Noah, who was 9 generations from his first ancestor Adam, did not observe the custom of family expansion as did his predecessors or foreparents. Adam apparently had started having children way before 100 years, since Cain and Abel were adults when the former killed the latter, and the latter's family was reported before Seth was born to Adam. Seth was born to Adam when he was 130 years old, and you can find it, the references right here. 4 others of Noah's ancestors had their firstborn before 100 years. Seth was 105 years old when he had Enosh, not Enoch, Enosh, right? While the remaining 3 ancestors had their firstborn before they were 200 years old. Can you imagine that? However, Noah was 500 years old when he had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Please, somebody read Genesis chapter 5, verse 30. Another thing to note, it seemed as if the 3 boys were triplets, as they are often identified together in the pre-flood era. The passage that was read, also Genesis 6 verse 10, and Genesis 7 verse 13, and Genesis 9 verse 18. You always see Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I am assuming they must have been triplets. So now wait 500 years and boom! Triplet. Make up for last time. So what was responsible for Noah waiting 5 centuries before starting to expand his family? Chances are that the heightened satanic activities happening around him could have been responsible for this decision. Since Noah was a just man and walked with Jehovah, read Genesis chapter 6 verse 18, he might have instructed Noah to defer pursuit of a family until his appointed time, when he would have provided Mrs. Noah for him. Jehovah, therefore, would have ordered Noah's steps to prevent him from entering into a satanic union through marriage, to ensure that he was not corrupted through sexual union. Remember what we said about the sexual union? Right. That's where the joining takes place. That's why 2 people are not married until consummation has taken place. Alright? Thus producing contaminated seed. This action was necessary so that the divine plan might be accomplished, preserving the bloodline in preparation for the coming of the seed of the woman. Believers need to be careful of the unions they join to create families. The Bible is clear that we should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. And let me just read this passage here. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 and 15. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership can righteousness have with wickedness? Or what fellowship does light with darkness? What harmony is there between Christ and Belial? Or what does a believer have in common with the unbeliever? Right? Light and darkness don't mix. One is going to expel the other. If you show me light and darkness existing together, I'll tell you something else. It's not light and darkness. It's probably black and bronze, or black and something else, but it is not light and darkness. One expels the other. Right? And usually it is the light that expels the darkness. So you know if the darkness expels the light, then the darkness is very great. Alright. Membership in church is not a criterion for union with a child of Yahweh. Many sons of disobedience, and by sons, this is a generic term for men and women. Right? That's what the Bible calls it. You check Ephesians, I think, chapter 2. That's what the children of the wicked are called, the sons of disobedience. Right? They come to church every week and plant themselves there like tares in a field of wheat. Check out Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 to 30. They look like believers, but they are the devil's spawns. They will destroy the child of Yahweh by all the devices which their fathers teach them. By the way, the angels who came down and populated with those female humans, they taught them, if you read the book of Enoch, not Enosh this time, Enoch, it will tell you that they taught them all forms of wickedness, including witchcraft. Yes. Right? So, what we see the wicked do, they have been taught by Satan. Right? These believers will not notice that they are he-devils and she-devils until the marriage is what? Consummated. By then the souls will be joined and they become contaminated. They would have derailed Yahweh's plan for their lives, and they will never be able to get back on track unless Yahweh rescue them, bitten and torn from stem to stern. When some of the men, one of the ways in which this behavior is manifested is the beating of women. My God, some of these women are beaten mercilessly. And men too. Don't think it's only man beat man, woman beat man too. Yes. There are some women who are cantankerous. They are fish wives. Right? And have to call a spade a spade. There is wicked man and there is wicked woman. Or there are wicked men and there are wicked women. Right? And just as how men look out for their daughters, they need to look out for their sons too. Mothers need to look out for their sons. Some mothers are controlling, it is true. But sons, if your mother saying to you, what the man say? Your mother say, I took her home to mama. Mama want to see my future bride. And what mama say? Take time to know her. It is not an overnight thing, my son. You should be able to distinguish when your mother or your father is being controlling and when they're giving you godly wisdom. Right? Some people, I have known of cases where parents have to go rescue them picnic, especially females. Have to go rescue them because when the mother, we're in one case, I don't know how she managed to open the phone. And her mother hear the lick them a drop and hear her a ball, and the mother went to the house with police. Right? But catch him in the act. I beat up our daughter. Right? It cannot be that you just see somebody and like the person and say, it never did stay so. What do you mean it never did stay so? Did you take the time to know him properly or know her? She has changed. Change what? She just put on camouflage. She's a chameleon.
Marriage relationship is more than just a man and a woman looking at each other and loving them. You have to go beyond that and look at their parents, look at their background, look at what they have been through or what they are connected with, what they were practicing, and because you could be bringing on curse on yourself if you don't know where your partner is coming from.
Yes, so Yahweh has to rescue some people, literally drag them out of your situation. And this is after sometimes mother pray, father pray, every week mama go to church, do pray for my daughter, pray for my son, mama go through hell, prayer and fasting. Sometimes the Lord have to wake up some people and say, Chuni, I have problem, she life in a danger, pray now. So sometimes when the man, hey, yeah, he notice him, yeah, because somebody have pray for Chuni. Remember, you might disobey your father and your mother, but remember, say, are you have to go live the life? They will cry, they will feel, but are you have to go live the life? Right? And sometimes they can't rescue. So children need to be careful. Right? In the Lord, for this is right. Right? It is the first commandment with a promise. Your days will be long upon the land if you obey your parents in the Lord. Some believers have died not fulfilling their divine destiny because they have entered into unholy unions. Never think as a believer that you can win an unbeliever while you are in a union of compromise with him or her. It can't happen. This is because your edges or your edge would have been breached and you have no protection. Additionally, believers, you need to be reminded that rituals and vows incorporated, you need to be careful of or mindful of the rituals and the vows that you incorporate in your marital ceremony. There are some rituals which have their origin in pagan customs. And if they are pagan, they are satanic. For instance, throwing rice or confetti at the bride and groom after the ceremony is a fertility ritual. And fertility rituals are demonic. Right? Another thing. Now this is not a ritual, no. This is a bad habit. Right? Bride being willfully late for their wedding is an act of rebellion and a lack of regard for their family, her family, husband, family, minister, and the guest. Tolerating brides with this attitude is enabling them. Husbands, ministers, and guests need to start leaving before the bride show up. And then others will begin to break this awful tradition. It is disrespectful. Yes, but the man stay there and sweat. And you say that you are going to be joined to this man in holy matrimony, and you start off by an act of rebellion? No. If I were the man, you not come and altar custody. Me I left. No, I am leaving. Rude and out of order. Siddiqa there went 10 o'clock with the outer door and wait for tum to tum. As to the wedding vows, in some Western cultures, to have and to hold, for better or for worse, for rich or for poor, in sickness or in death, or in sickness and in health, till death do us part. This dates back to the Book of Common Prayer by Thomas Cranmer, Archbishop of Canterbury in the 16th century. On the surface it seems solemn, appropriate, and